Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to Cynthia On Demand. I am Cynthia, and it feels really strange saying that because I don't feel that today. All right, so welcome. I'm Cynthia Harrison, your mystic metaphysician or your mystic meteorologist. My spiritual name, and maybe that's why my spiritual name is Simran Kaur, the one who cleanses karma through the remembrance of God. Remembrance of love and fear to unconditional love. I'm a minister of unconditional love. And but today, just putting the Facebook on, today, I was contemplating what to share with you. And so I grabbed a whole lot of my journals and just opened pages. It was interesting because they were all sort of pointing to a similar direction. Although for me, it's all connected, right? Everything is connected. And so we'll see where we go. But my plan was to give you an experience. So there's a couple of things we're going to touch on today or in this moment. One is the numbers. Two is the spiritual bodies. Three, I guess, is the way that they come into or are our lived experience. Four would be, and these aren't the numbers, by the way. I should have, if I had prepared, I could have said, one's the soul body, two's the negative mind, three's the positive mind, four's the neutral mind. We are going to touch in on the neutral mind. So the numbers that came up today were 11. So 29th here, 9, 10, 11. It's 11. So the number 11, the number 8 came up. And it's interesting because if you have an 11, you have a higher number in your codes, such as the 11. We are holding that frequency, and it takes practice, it takes discipline, right? Because what happens is the 11 can go through the 8 to the 2. And the 2, when it's been 11, 1, 1, and it drops, it's the negative aspect of the 2. So, what's that mean for you? Is that all like, I got no idea what you're talking about? You don't need to necessarily know the ins and outs of it. But what you could know today, as we're in an 11, is that there's the potential for the drop to the 2. Okay. Interesting. Or not. So I'm going to take you through, well, let me just see who's here and what might be going on for you. So pop in the chat, what might be resonating for you just from what I've said. So before we go any further, while I'm waiting for that, before we go any further, I need to share with you. I don't need to, but if I don't share with you, you won't know. And if it is for you and you miss out, then you may drop to the 2 or the lower numbers, okay, which in themselves are not good, bad, or indifferent. It's just everything, every number, everything has love and fear within it, which just is. And we can also spiral it into the fear of fear or the fear of love. And that's sort of what I'm getting at, because the 2 within itself is neither good nor bad. It's a frequency. Okay, let me just let some people into the Zoom. Okay, so what are these numbers that I'm talking about? So I am a yogini, and this numerology is within that lineage, and cross-references into pretty much everything. And we don't go, well, what is, so if I said to you a number like 11, 11, what's 11? And you start to reference things for the 11. The 11 or the number has its own, I was going to say identity, has its own frequency. It isn't any other thing. So we put numbers to things, but when we connect and build a relationship with the number itself, this is where the magic happens. So anyway, I'm not going to go into a bunch of numbers because some of you might be freaking out, but it is another way of knowing. It is the codes, and then how we remember them. Right. Even in the way that I speak, when we are consciously communicating, all the numbers in sequences exist. And when there's a process in that code that's missing, that's where we come into some challenge. Right. So I want to touch on the Cloud Odyssey before we get too deep into this. So the Cloud Odyssey is the next program that's coming up. It's a 6-month program. It's 40% early bird at the moment. And I believe wherever you're watching this from, there should be links. So if you scroll through where you're watching this from, so on Facebook or YouTube, in the information, you'll see links to things that are coming up. And there is a 40% at the moment. So if you go into that link and put mini cloud, you'll get that percentage off until Wednesday. And because we start on the 8th of November, then it's no longer an early bird, right? So if you want in, go into that. If you've got no idea what it's about, well, click on the link and you can have a read, and contact me if you're interested or want more information. We can have a chat about it. How on earth, or in the heavens, or heaven and earth, does Cloud Odyssey connect to the mysticism of what I'm talking about with regards to the frequencies that we may say is this code or this code? Because there is heaven and earth. I'm going to draw for you today. I'm going all, like, I literally woke, I get so much information, and I'm like, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about? But maybe I'm not going to talk. Maybe I'm just going to draw you some pictures, because my background is in social sciences, right? Psychology. I worked as a trauma therapist or with complex trauma. And, physically on every level. Like, it's just, you see, it blows my mind that we compartmentalize the human, although it does help us understand. So how did Cloud Odyssey, or how do the programs, that sort of come around, how do they come around? They come around because I'm speaking to a lot of you. I'm seeing what's happening and what's needed for that bridging of heaven and earth. Okay. So, right. And you could see those as vortices, right? Or you could see them as, if you're looking down through, or you could see them as triangles. But that's only because we're on this dimension, right? We could see them as the body. We can see them as part of the diamond inlays that work all through the body. Diamonds all the way through, right? I could keep going on and on and on. These are energy systems, higher energy systems. But what I wanted to show you was, you could draw this however you want, right? But if we've got earth experience, okay, and you're working on your connection to and how they relate with the numbers, get messy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the bridge between heaven and earth. 6, 7, 8, 9. 0 of the 10 and the 1. Whole experience. 11 and 12 are beyond your, the human experience. Go into that's one way to draw it. You following me? I lost you? I'm just giving you the code so then when I speak, you can visualize it. So there's one aspect of seeing this. We'll draw it like that, okay? And then there's the other way, which is like that. Convex and concave. Convex and concave. Hold that. Hold that. So we also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the crossover between heaven and earth. 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and 10. Holds all of them. Unconditional love holds it all. So consciousness. So when we go 1 to 4, you've heard me say this again, maybe a couple of you. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals 10. So the human experience has the opportunity, right? Because, so I don't expect you to just stay with me because I'm going to take you through something in a moment, right? I'm going to take you through something in a moment. This is just what's blurring out of me right now. We want to talk about the convex and concave. If you have some of these maps, just look at them. Don't even care if you understand. Just just look at it. Just look at it, right? It's the code. You don't need to know and fully understand with the mind because some of it is beyond the mind. Your soul will understand, right? You get me? When I start talking like this, many of you will shut down, shut off. Why? Because of your fear, your survival. You freak out. I have to know, I don't know, so I'm not going to know. You already know. Say it. I know. Do you remember, now I'm speaking to you because I can see you. Do you remember the meditation we did? And some of you that are watching on other may not, but just listen. Take it in. See if you can feel what I'm saying. When you look over at the neighbor's house, right? Or in the cupboard, or in somebody's bag, you already know what's in it. You know. When you look at something that you think or you don't know, Shafia, say, I know. I know. I know what my neighbor is thinking. I know what my neighbor's doing. I know what's in their cupboards and their bag. I know where they're going and I know what they're going to do. So say, I know. I know. It's a knowing. You have the capacity, the ability as a human because at that state, you are it. Right? Feel it? Know it. When you go here to the animal, right? Okay, we're breaking it down. This is refresher for my inner circle, but you know, sometimes we've got to have some discipline and go over things and just feel it. Like if you're in your head going, oh, I need to write all this down, go to the freaking replay. No, feel what I'm saying. Feel it. Just be what I'm saying and allow your own innate information, your wisdom, which is our wisdom because we are. Where was I? Where was I? Preaching today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm preaching. Convex, concave. Physical, plants, mineral, plane, actually. We'll go mineral. This is messy. You're not going to be able to read it, but just feel it. Plants and organic material, the organic plane, animal. Oh, yes. Human mammals. You are mammal, right? Breathe that. Lower astral, right? Lower astral plane. Human. 5 is the bridge, the bridging. It's the crossover. It is half of 10. So in the PSI program, which isn't available right now, it's the most advanced information I teach. We go through this. We spend time on each number and how we experience it. And it's profound. It's quite profound. So I'm just giving you an introduction. I was like, woke up this morning and I was like, actually last night I was like, I probably need to work out what I'm going to share today. And I had an idea. I was like, oh yeah, we can go through this because this is what we did in the cloud, mini cloud. If you understand your numbers, mine don't work like that. And I don't fight it anymore. And I don't freak out that I haven't got everything in one sock, as we used to say, right? It's all not in one sock. But I was like, what's the date today? I looked at the dates. I was shown the 11. Then I was shown the 8. Interestingly enough, I'm not talking about either of them. I did start off that way, but you see how it comes in? It's like, oh, okay, this is the starting point. Opens me up. Blah, there it is. All right. Now, this relates to what I want to talk to you about today and what you might be experiencing. Okay. And yeah, we're saying today, I'm using that as a jump point, a teaching point, right? Just to say, okay, you know, we have the higher numbers and they connect like this. Okay. And then right? 1 and 9, 2 and 8, 3 and 7, 4 and 6. They're marriages, they're yin yang, they're you could say positive, negative, but when we break it down again, each one, so the 9 has its karma, dharma, yin yang, positive, negative, love, fear, right? See, I know that I'm seeing you nod. I don't know what's going on with everyone else, but I guess I'm here. I'm here to share with who's watching, right? So I'm feeling into that. So how does this relate to cloud and why I'm teaching Cloud Odyssey, right? Because the Cloud Odyssey is looking at the human experience and how to get to the crossover. Because when we have our trauma and our attachment stuff, at what level is that? Where is that? How would you refine that? If my energy, my spiritual name is based on my numbers, my coding, right? I didn't pick it. It picked me. My guru gave it, that name to me based on my codes. The one who clears and cleanses, Ishnan, is a yogic cold water therapy that is so healing and invigorating. And I could go into that one day if anyone was interested in exactly what's happening, because there's all sorts of people doing it now and it's just a trend. No, it's an ancient technology. It's an ancient technology, right? And going into that state of Simran, right? The remembrance of God. So clearing, cleansing, doing the work, or acknowledging. It's not even work. It's being in a space where you can slow down to relate, have a relationship with self, which ultimately shifts, we may want to say, cleanses, clears blocks, refines, whatever. I don't care what language you use, because the language is just what makes it acceptable to you in the moment. Right? Oh, it's interesting. Something fell, I'm just trying to see it. My envelope fell off. I'm just going to get it and I'm going to read what it says on it because it just fell off the wall. It was on my windowsill. This is what it says. Every day is the best of the year. Every day is the best of the year. Oh, and look, infinity and wings. Who needs to see that today? I don't know. It sits on my windowsill. I think it was the envelope for a birthday card or something. And I liked it. So I sat on my window, but it just flew off. So I'm sharing it. Maybe somebody needs to see that symbolic or the imagery, right? The wings. Actually, so we've got so let me show you the infinity. This is the infinity. Right. And there's a crossover, right? The two circles. It's the 0 of the 10 with a twist. Do you remember? Yes, some of you. Right. It's the 10 with a twist. So cool. That light is on there. All right. So, and wings. So I guess when we move from and this links to a meditation I was going to take you through. There you go. Nice reminder. The coming in and feeling, connecting with this lower circle or triangle, however you want to look at it. Whether you want to look at it as an 8 or an infinity. Where's Lisa with her infinity? I don't know. Where is she? Always looking at the infinity on the wall. And the crossing over, the twist, which takes you to the higher numbers. But what ideally you want to do is what? You want to be the 0 of the 10. You want to merge heaven and earth to be as much unconditional love as possible incarnated. Right? That is, I'm not going to make it out as, oh, we can all, be love, right? And many of you, I was actually, I was shown about the awakening and ascension stages and whatnot. And there is a point where the new age stuff just is no longer relevant to, it's like, you'll hear people speak and be like, oh, God, right, or it's just, it doesn't call you anymore. It doesn't call you anymore. You start to see, hear, sense, know at a more consciousness. So consciousness is at the 6, right, up here. So if I made enough mess, my red texture is now writing black. So I guess I've done my job. If I've made enough of a mess, I know I've done a good job today. Okay, so consciousness. So, and then we go up into the astral planes. the blue ethers. The blue ethers are at the 8. Unless you're into the mystical aspects, you probably have no idea about the blue ethers. The blue is what I am, I swim in, I know. And we move through there's many layers of the ethers, the blue ethers, and then there are some that we cannot merge with completely until after we have left this physical body, right? But this is why I talk about the mystically inclined, or the mystic, right? When we can access the blue ethers while still incarnated, because it's we're going up here, and then the the other shore or home, the subtle plane, and soul, which is. So let me pull it together. What time is it? How long have we been going? Half an hour. Convex and concave. I'll just talk about this in a nutshell, and then we'll move over and I can go deeper into it. So there'll be an exam now. Joking. It's funny. My eldest daughter's a nurse, but she also teaches. And she sent me a photo the other day. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but there was this body laying in the bed, and there was all this computer. So it's like ICU, or I'm not sure what you call it over here, but intensive care. And there's a big glass window, and the patient's over there. But the patient had sunglasses, a beanie, a thing of chocolate milk, and it just didn't look very good. But so I said to her, he doesn't look well. And but I thought, I don't think he's real. But I just said, he doesn't look real well, but it is ICU. And she said, it's like a dummy, like not a puppet, and she can control this life-size doll with the computer, because they're teaching nurses how to save lives and stuff, and they've got all this technology. So she sent me this photo that had all the computer stuff, and she's controlling the patient, and the nurse has to, anyway, I was like, wow, that's so awesome. Because years ago I was working with some people with looking at the advances of holograms and whatnot, and how you can teach people to do surgery, and even fix the Mars rover when it's on Mars, or on the, all of that sort of stuff, through these sorts of technologies. And again, there's love and fear, right? It's love and fear. You go into fear of love around the technology, because the same person that was working on that Mars rover and some of the other stuff also is very much into AI and the ethics of AI, and how bringing that, making people aware, and bringing in understandings and boundaries without, because that is fear, right? If we go into fear of fear, oh no, there's all this new stuff. But everything that's here has always been here. If you think about it, everything, it's just being reworked. It's like when you have a pain, that energy, do you see what I mean? It's energy, and it can be transformed or shifted or moved. So we have saying here, it's like, if you have an ache or a pain, as long as it's moving, it's doing something, right? It's moving, or it's shifted slightly or whatever. There's some movement, so it's good. It's all right. See, is it going to continue to shift and move, right? So you can transform it. So the minerals and everything that's here on this earth has created all of this stuff. So again, are we looking at something through what lens are we looking through? You know, what trauma lens, what fear lens, what love lens? And we do that with humans. We do that, you know, with people, with animals, with plants, with technology, with things we can't see, what we don't understand. So back to the I know. What's going to happen there? I already know what's going to happen there. You know. Your ego is trying to nut it out. Which is still just trying to nut all this out too. If I just said to you, just you're that. Off you go. Be that. I'll see you next week. And then next week, we'll see if you can be this. It's just information. It's information. All right, convex, concave. I was getting at, wasn't I? Went off on my little tangent, but my tangents are my downloads, so I'm not going to judge him. I'm just going to say it really simply because I need to go over to the inner circle. So when we look into a mirror, right? Flat surface, right? I've drawn it like that so that you can see what I'm about to do. But look into a mirror, a general mirror, unless you go to a fun house. You look into a mirror and you see a reflection. Really only seeing 1%. Some people say 3%. But my physicist friends tell me 1%. And what I see when I look at people is much more than. Anyway, so our vision and what we're seeing. So this spiritual understanding or higher understanding, well, it's not even high. I'm not going to say that. We've got to stop saying higher and lower, right? Because it's perspective. So I'm going to do a star. Let me see if I can do a star. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's you. That's your little head and your arms and your legs. That's the human. Number 5. It's a crossover. Heaven and earth, the bridge between heaven and earth. And when we look in the mirror, we're being reflected to some degree, right? What you see is what you get in a flat mirror. It's limited. In a convex, so the X, convex, external. You get a big head and a little body. And we walk around the land, big head, externalized. So do you recall the the teaching on just different color. So the eyes, the ears, the mouth, the nose, right? You know, our hair's an antenna, but there's more holes than that. But there, you know, your sensory system. And when we look out into the world, our consciousness, like we are out in the world. We're no longer with the body. So I'm going to say now, what are your legs doing? What are your legs doing? What are your feet doing? Oh, you're aware of them now, but you weren't, were you? Right? What's your chest doing? Can you feel the breath going in and out? Probably can now because it brought your attention, your consciousness to it. So when we're in this convex, we're big-headed, little-bodied. It's all external. It's all external. It's all about, right? In a nutshell, right? I'm just trying to do this fairly quickly. And with a concave, it's the opposite. We have I'm gonna make an awesome mess here. So a tiny little head. In fact, your head is like in your body. There you go. You see the full beauty of my mess. Okay. Now, the big head expands you out. It pulls you out. And concave, cave, inward, cave equals gu, G-U, light, to find the light. Guru, gu, to find the light. Cave, to find the light. Is anybody aware of the blackout teachings or the being in the darkness? You know, there's there's literally reasons why we sit in caves or we sit in a dark, blacked out room. Try it. My house in Perth, it's an big old house, and it's very dark. And I painted the walls dark too in my bedroom. Like, I mean, really dark, like a deep sort of blue-gray, and had very thick, like basically the room was blacked out. So when I was in there without lights on, it was black. How many of you experienced that? There's, and also how many of you have experienced the darkness of like literally no light? Some of you who have been underground, right? So if you've ever been underground or, into it, like caving and things like that without lights and whatnot, you get a sense of that. You cannot see your hand in front of your face, dark, right? So in a house, you could sort of see light and dark, right? So anyway, blackout, it turns on your capacity to see. It turns on the capacity to see. And so that's why we train in the dark. I made sure that my room, so when I woke up at any time, I wouldn't know whether it was light or day outside, right? And I would wake up and I'll just view. Lay in my bed and just look at the darkness. And there is so much in the darkness. So concave, convex. To find the inner light or the inner cave of your being. All right. I'm going to leave it at that. Unless there's any questions. It is just points. I gave you this much. But I guess I'll bring it back around because we do have the Cloud Odyssey coming in. This isn't taught in Cloud Odyssey, right? This is, in Cloud Odyssey, we have the steps of the clearing, cleansing, healing to be able to fully be the bridge between heaven and earth, right? Once you're the bridge, then you can be the full capacity of, you know, this is the survival ego. And this is the spiritual ego. Fear of love, fear of fear, right? How many of you can receive? Why you can or can't receive is what you learn in Cloud Odyssey, because it is connected to, I was actually doing, I'm not sure if she's watching, I was doing a integration alignment, doing the scanning and whatnot. And the integration alignment, I'll just show you how everything can, like everything connect. There is nothing you can show me that I can't connect. It's like, this is what I'm saying. It is the 0 of the 10. It's all in there. I can tell you through any modality, right? So these multiple modalities here, right? But or ways of knowing. And here's another one, which is energetically. How does Cloud Odyssey, how does these numbers connect to your energy and your grids in your body, how you are experiencing the world, right? How you're experiencing the world. So we have your body, and we have this central axis that goes through all of us humans. As you experience something, see, this is how our life here on this planet impacts us. But not to say that past lives and you know, your genealogy doesn't impact you, your hereditary, you know, your all of that. But we have this energy at the thymus, at the chest. The thymus is the highest soul heart. And there are quadrants here, right? And these quadrants, I scan them and they tell me what energy experience is still playing out for the human. Okay, so it might be for, I mean, there's a lot of different things, and I then have to scan them. But just say it's depressive, right? It comes up in this section 4. But there's other things too, right? And it might be a few of them, but there'll be main energy understanding. Okay. Now, think about this. This is the energetics and what's happening on this experience through the soul heart, thymus gland, higher information. And all of these quadrants working together. But one part of it is being pulled. One part of it has been conditioned and is dimmed. So I'll show you this way. So there's filaments of light through all of these sections. So I'm just explaining it in layman's terms, right? So it's more complex than this, but now, if one of those filaments of light are dimmed, or like they're not lighting up, there's you know, it's not working through. It's like if the energy didn't go through your arm, there'd be a problem with your arm, right? And so we assist that quadrant of filaments of light to re-illuminate, right? So that's the higher energy work and how I do that. But that's, you know, I'm not teaching you how to be practitioners, but right. So that's the general idea of that piece. Then the other piece, which is really interesting. So do you get, I just want to go back over this because some of you have done the mini cloud stuff or heard me just talking in general. And even whether you want to do it or not, it's by the by. This understanding could be the bit that you're missing, or, you know, the piece of the puzzle down next week or tomorrow. That when I teach about attachment styles or adaptive strategies, energetically, I can see them here. Right. So we could say what psychological trait is playing out, but it's really an energetic, but we label it to understand it, to fit with the science and whatnot, right? I don't care what we label it, to tell you the truth. I only tell you when I do this. I wrote you up a big report, and the reason I do that is because your ego wants to know. You don't need to know. It's done. What do you need to know about it? I did it. It's done. You can question it. That's your ego, right? Either fear of love, right? The capacity to experience the beloved, expansion, illumination, and then you get scared and push it away. No, that didn't happen. That didn't work, regardless. Or I'm not worthy. I need to keep or hold on to a particular way of being, a way of knowing, because the alternative is too frightening. The alternative is this particular way of being kept me safe when I was 5. And if I let go of it, right? Okay. So this is why we have, so that's that bit, which is what I'm looking even further into to cross-reference more of what I'm seeing lately. So this is stuff I've been working with for 15 odd years. But this axis will go off to the left or off to the right, right? And for me, I always saw it like an elbow. Think about it. this isn't a central core. Central core, so some of you, a lot of you that are sort of interested in this sort of stuff, central core is not the central axis, different energy, okay? But this little fine axis of energy that goes through the whole system, it's there, and when something happens, it's like you're putting out an extra arm or extra elbow to either block, right? Any of you martial artists, right? To block, or it's an extra, to me, I've always seen it as an extra arm of, if you're wobbly, you're going to what's the word? Like, if your chair's wobbly, you might put an extra prop there to keep it from falling over or whatever, right? This is what you are so, it's so intelligent. But that could be from 20 years ago. So really simple to align, really simple to align. However, how strong are the rest of the systems? How strong is your knowing? How strong is your, I was going to say will, but I guess the general understanding of will, right? To have it go back to keep you safe. See? You know, how these energies and how parts of you will be fighting to stay where you are. And so you are aligned. And if you go back into your patterns of behavior in time, you'll wonk out again. In some way, it may not be the same because, you know, but where that's out chronically, so severe mental health and, you know, let's just say it that way, it may take a few times, right? This is why I don't generally like to do one-off sessions of these, because for most people, it would take 2 to 3. Because even the most severe is around 3 to 4 to hold. It doesn't. So why am I telling you this? Because in the Cloud Odyssey program, we're working on the reasons why it goes out. Do you see? So, you know, if I ask you and I hear and I see, and, you know, some of you are, you know, people I admire, and, you know, you teachers in your own right. And it's like all about the light. It's all about the light. Oh, right. You know, yeah. But we have heaven and earth, right? And you might get a little glimpse, and then the gravity of life pulls you back down. And here are your 3 core chakras, or your 3 lower chakras, which is your human experience. Another thing we're bringing into Cloud Odyssey is how those core energy spots, chakras, connect to developmental stages in life, and each one also connects to your adaptive strategies, right? So I mean, it's multiple models, layer upon layer upon layer. I'm not going to be drawing and teaching you this stuff. If you want to be a practitioner, yeah. If you want to be a practitioner, I'll teach you the ins and outs of this. On these, I'm sharing ways of knowing so that you can see, no matter what way you look at it, where's the perspective you're looking from? What lens are you viewing your world through? And how does that shift through your everyday experience? So the other day we were talking about, and you were here, so just to relate back to a teaching. I just lost it. So as I was talking about the connections. Oh, someone was asking me, or maybe you weren't here, but someone was asking me about, your adaptive strategies or your adaptations to survive, and how they're different at different times. They will feel different at different times, but you will have your core ways of responding. So if this segment is dimmed, it needs a little, it's I just say it's misaligned, but it's dimmed. Ancient ways of knowing, I've heard people talk about when the light is dim in the body, the entity or the attachment and all of that stuff. I don't get into that. It's light or dark. That's it. And I don't see dark as bad. Because what did I just say about being in the dark? The darkest of the day. Do you get me? There is no, if you come to me and you're saying, I need to get rid of this, I need to get out of it and push it, there will be something that's uncomfortable or odd. Remember talking about odd the other day? Odd, maybe not. I was talking about odd, the word odd, when you feel odd. Odd is when you're outside your habitual pattern of behavior, so it feels odd. Odd is not a bad thing. In fact, it would be helpful because it doesn't feel like a conditioned pattern. But your conditioned pattern and responses, your habits and adaptations are your way of feeling in control, feeling like you can manage or keep walking forward, right? Which is great, which is awesome. You see the gift that that arm can give you, or the block can give you. It's a freaking gift. It's about accepting the light and the dark, and the gifts within the dark and the gifts within the light. When we merge, it is within the zero. It's all in the zero. I was talking to Eric about this yesterday, actually. And some of you were, and some you where you are, and that's perfectly fine. So, it's like, looking at things we might call evil or not good, or, all the different words we say. But it's all in the zero. It's all in the zero. It's all in there. And I'm going to throw this in here. It might trigger some of you, but hey, that's why I'm here. Oh, maybe not. It's gone. Okay. So we'll see if it comes back. sort of like when that happens, because it's like it comes up and then I'm like, yeah, and then it just goes. It's like, all right, it's gone. I'm not meant to trigger you today. Not to that extent. Or if it comes back in, oh no, here it is. Okay. I'm just trying to get a little, so I don't lose it again. All right. How we accept our fears, fear of love, how we accept, right? Acknowledge, accept, explore, expand, right? Fear, feel it, explore it, right? Embrace it, accept it, allow, release, rise. Yeah. And that's the breath, right? It's the breath. Feel it. We are not accepting, right? We're all about the love and the light, but not accepting the other half of you and the other half of life is not loving. It's not loving. You're only taking half of the experience with you. What about the feminine? What about the mother? And we're discussing this last night because it's like, you know, so many people talk about the mother as love, right? The mother as love. Which there's some truth to that. I'm not saying it's untrue, but I'm saying if this is earth and this is heaven, and we have the mother, the father. I mean, there are the light and dark of the masculine, feminine, right? The quadrants, and we can go off into all these other ethers. But the way the world is, the way the atrocities and whatnot come up, is because we're not accepting our own fears, our own fear, and our own fear of love. And so it's projected out into the world. And our collective fears are creating the experience. Right? So this is why I teach what I teach. This is why I keep showing up. All right. Trigger anyone? Okay, so we've been going for about an hour. I'm going to move on. No worries. But maybe I'll stay on here. Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Let me just have a look. So Cloud Odyssey is a 6-month program that basically we look at, so the meteorology of the soul is looking at, I guess, love and fear, or the trauma and attachment or relational wounds, using the metaphor of the sky, weather, atmosphere, and finding how your inner landscape or your inner skies are made up, right? So that you'll have the tools to directly navigate your everyday life, which will impact positively on your energy and on all of your spiritual bodies. So all of these numbers relate to the 10 spiritual bodies, which all have ways of being connected to them. They all have the, you know, when it's aligned, when it's misaligned, right? So understanding how you are in the world and what your challenges are, not just from that physical plane, but from multiple planes of existence, the whole human. But the cloud is more, you know, therapeutic, based on, you know, somatics and neurosensory work, bringing in the theory into the practice, so that when you learn something about yourself from the theory or from the quizzes or from the work that we go through, then we have creative expression, ways of integrating that for you specifically, right? For you specifically. It's not a generalized group like these are, because we have a container to be able to go deeper into, you know, what's happening for you. It's very small groups. So once we work out the general working of you, then you can map it along the 6 months and see where it ebbs and flows, see where your challenges come up and when they drop, right? Where your expansion, contraction happens, where there's difficulty in your life, and, you know, continually tracking and mapping that. So when, you know, you understand how the wind works or blows through your inner landscape, and what the cloud systems are generally and for particular situations. That's what I was going to say before when that disappeared. Those situations can disappear in, you know, if I'm talking to one of you and there's a trigger, if I go and talk to my next door neighbor, it could be triggered in a different way. We generally have two. What I've seen, it goes back, there's the two, you know, everything sort of goes back to one really, but two, where you could sort of see whether you're fighting or fleeing. What's your core way of being? And so if you're in a relationship, it's really interesting. When you're in a relationship with somebody and they have the opposite ways of being, you know, it doesn't mean that you are stuck in that fight constantly. You know, one's wanting the connection and the other's sort of avoidant and moving away. And so it's always this push-pull or push-run or run-push, right? So there's all of these dances, these dynamics, which we can explain them energetically, and we can explain them through all those realms that are, you know, and we can explain them physiologically. It's all connected. So this is why cloud is important. This is why looking at that is important, but it's challenging. And so I understand why people, they're drawn to it, but then they get scared, right? So if that's happening, contact me and we can have a chat about it. And if it's not for you right now, that's fine. So 40% off until, what day is it? It's Tuesday, so till tomorrow. And then it goes back up. So Cloud Odyssey. And I'll just leave that there, and there is a link and you can read through it. And if you're drawn, you're drawn. All right. So I'll leave it at that, and there's no questions. We went a little down the yogi trail today, but that's my way of being. And so if I'm like, well, what are we going to talk about today? I talk about what lights me up. I talk about the work I do in the world. I talk about how I am, because that's all I got, right? Me and that connection. That's the most important thing to me. So, all right, until we meet again, may the blessings be. I think I've told you everything that was on my heart, on my mind. So much love. And we'll disconnect the live and see if our inner circle has any questions. Trying to work out how to disconnect.